This huge structure is the amphitheater. It's a Greek amphitheater, but it's really not used so much for plays. A lot of philanthropic events do happen down there. Bands will set up on the stage, and before a home football game, the student council might set up a big barbecue down there that a lot of students stop by and grab a bite to eat before they head over to the Scott Stadium, which is a little down McCormick Road right here. Also, a lot of stuff happens on a day-to-day basis here. This is central to a lot of classes, so if you have either 10 minutes or an hour between class, a lot of students park themselves on the stairs, lay out, try to get a little sun, open their laptops and write a few pages of their paper, or talk with friends. Every year on the first day of classes, the Student Activities Fair is held in this amphitheater. UVA has about 560 clubs and organizations, and they all set up on the floor of the amphitheater. Some actually get pushed up into the seating area. But they line up from A to Z, and they're decked out in their full garb. So the medieval club will have on their heavy velvets and medieval night gear, or the gymnastics club will be prancing around in their leotards. And it's always a really hot day. So you would have the fire department kind of set up here, hosing people down or just spraying water to keep people cool. This is your opportunity to sign up and learn about as many clubs as you're interested in. It's really, really easy. You just put your name and email address down, and they'll add you to their mailing list. We have a really large variety of clubs, from sports to fine art clubs, service, and political organizations. We have the usual serious clubs like Student Council and the school newspaper, but UVA also has some not-so-serious organizations. For example, we have one called DOB, or the Disciples of Bob Barker, which was created a few years ago when a group of students thought that the East Coast was underrepresented on The Price is Right. So their whole thing is to raise money so that they can go fly out to The Price is Right. There's also one, kind of like that for The Daily Show, called What Would Jon Stewart Do? And there's a Seinfeld watching club, etc. Between all 560 clubs, there's something for everyone. But by chance you know of something else you would like to do, go for it. It's very easy to start a new club. All you have to do is go to Newcomb Hall, fill out a constitution that basically describes your club, and if at the end of the first year you're not the only member, your club will get part of the university's annual $600,000 worth of funding that goes to these clubs. It's really easy to get involved at UVA, and it's these 560 organizations that set up down here that you sign up for, that you get involved with your first day that you come here, that really make a school of 13,000 undergrad really feel like a community. I'll tell you, the longer I go here, the smaller it feels. I can't go to class without seeing 3 people I know, and it really becomes very community-oriented. I get a lot of questions about the Greek system. Fraternities and sororities don't actually set up down here for a couple reasons. The main reason is we don't have fall rush here. We have something called deferred rush. So you're not having to come into UVA and figure out what the heck is going on and what college is like, and then decide if you want to join the Greek system or not. You have a semester to kind of get your bearings and form good friendships in your classes with people or in these organizations before you decide if the Greek system is for you. Now, I think it's another misrepresentation of UVA that this is a huge social scene school. We're only about 30% Greek here, which is a good round number. It means that if you do choose to rush or join a fraternity or sorority, you're not alone. But if you choose not to rush, you're actually in the majority. Now, when I say the Greek system, it refers to UVA's 16 traditional sororities, 31 traditional fraternities, all 9 of the traditional black fraternities, 7 multicultural fraternities and sororities, as well as some interest-based fraternities such as strictly religious fraternities, strictly philanthropic, a literary and debating fraternity, engineering fraternities. The list goes on and on. So that 1/3 really encompasses a whole bunch. There's such a variety of things to do here that not one thing really defines you. There's so many opportunities to get involved with so many other things, and organizations are not exclusive by any means. I, for example, am in the Greek system, but I have friends both in and out of it. We're now in Minor Hall, the home of the International Studies Department, which includes Study Abroad, which is housed upstairs. UVA's current president, President Castine, has created a new initiative called Virginia 2020, that by the year 2020, he's hoping that 75% of the student body will study abroad in some form at some point during their 4 years. To help facilitate this, he has instituted January term, which is 3 weeks during January that you literally go and study abroad. Usually your first couple days you're in Charlottesville to set the tone for the program, and then your last couple days to kind of have a debriefing. Another cool thing is that he signed UVA up as one of the new host schools for a semester at sea. It's just started in spring 2006, and they gave away full free scholarships to the first 100 people who signed up. I personally think it sounds pretty cool. We're looking at a classroom right now, and if you're looking around, you're probably thinking, wow, there are a lot of seats in here. This is your pretty typical lecture-sized class. Now, I'm not going to say that you're not going to have a lecture class when you come into UVA, because you probably will. But you'll also probably get smaller classes in concentrated areas or as a seminar. If you take Intro to Biology, for example, you're probably going to be in a larger sized classroom. But if you have a class of 50 people or over, a lecture class, it's a requirement that it gets broken down to smaller classes, which are discussion sections, usually led by a TA, about 15 to 20 students each. This is where you get the time to ask questions, flesh out problems, or just bounce ideas back and forth from one another and talk to your classmates. As a first year, the typical workload is about 15 credits, which usually breaks down to about 5 classes per semester. My first semester, I had 3 classes out of the 5 that were over 40 students. The average class size here is 24 students, and of course that varies by grade, but even as first years, UVA does not want these big lecture classes all the time for every student. They want you to have a smaller environment. Now, to help foster that, they have something called university seminars, which I think are a really valuable part of UVA. I don't know if you've heard a bunch about university seminars. They're restricted solely to first years and to 15 people each. They offer university seminars in a variety of different departments and different classes. It's not restricted like only architecture students can take this, or only arts and science students can take that. Anybody can take anything. They're taught by some of the most prominent people in their field. So as a first year, my first semester here, I took a university seminar called The Black and White 60s, taught by Professor Julian Bond, who's chair of the NAACP. It was awesome to have that intimate of a setting coming in. It was my first class, and to be taught about the civil rights movement by somebody that was deeply involved with it was just phenomenal. UVA really facilitates student-professor interaction. All professors are required to hold office hours, and the office hours are completely open to students. You can talk about whatever you want. We also have something called Take Your Professor Out to Lunch, which is completely on UVA's dime. You just go and pick up a debit card, and you can do it 3 times per semester. I really think it's the student-professor interaction here and the professor's willingness and desire to get to know the students that really makes UVA such a great school to go to. We just